I am there. I'm listening, I'm sitting down and saying, now let's see if we can handle that thing a different way. Let's see if we can handle that phone call a different way. But when I'm away, they got to still produce, right? Store doesn't stop and we don't close. So let's go back to how we bring those people in. We always have a pipeline. Most dealerships have to hire out of desperation because they need 8 salespeople, 10, 15, 20, and they wait until there's nobody working there. Oh my God, we've got to hire 8 people tomorrow. And they got to be experienced because we ain't got time to train them. They got to be ready. Cut loose tomorrow. You're laughing because you've heard that, right? So we do retain Craig's company to put 40 people in front of us almost every month, year in, year out. How many of those do we hire? At that moment, little to none. But we weed them out, for lack of a better term, and find the people we think will fit our culture, and we put them on in the, okay, those are maybes. Then we have a job fair. You ever thought about having a job fair? How many hire exclusively in the automotive industry? That means you hire experienced people. Anybody? Y'all lying to me? We don't hire anybody that has automotive experience. Anybody. Why?
That aspect of culture.
Oh, and that's sad. And it would be great to hire somebody that has done it before and done it the right way, and they came from a great culture. We can plug them in and we can play. Generally doesn't work that way from my experience. If you're doing that in your market or somebody else is doing that in your market, that's awesome. I'd love to hear about that. I haven't found that. So we hire people that work in hospitality. We hire people that work in shoe stores. We hire people that worked in hotels and restaurants that have worked and opened that shift at 5:30 in the morning and got the buffet ready, and they shut it down at night like these folks here. You'll see some of these people here when we leave here tonight. They were here this morning getting breakfast ready. And that's work. I don't work. My team members don't work. They rarely break a sweat. They're not digging ditches. I'm from, you can tell I'm from the country, right? I'm an hour and a half away from here. I primed tobacco as a kid. When I was 14 years old, I remember going up that hill, and it felt like 150 degrees, and praying to God, literally. I said, God, if you get me out of here, I will do anything and never complain about it, ever. And I've kept that promise. 2 years. I got my workers permit at 15 years old and started working in restaurants and closing at 2 and 3 in the morning. That was awesome. Loved it. I smelled like grease, and I said, this is awesome. Better than the tobacco gum. If you've never primed tobacco with tobacco gum under your fingernails when you're a teenager and you're trying to impress girls, it's horrible. And I go out there, and Mr. Matthews, I had gloves on. I was going to be smarter than him, right? If you never primed tobacco, you won't get any of this, so just go with me, all right? I wore gloves so I wouldn't get tobacco gum under my fingernails. He said, what are you doing? Except he didn't say it quite that nicely. I said, I don't like that tobacco gum. You know, the girls don't like the dirty fingernails. He said, you can't prime tobacco with gloves on your hand, fool. I said, sure I can. Well, of course, they were all the way at the end of the row, and I was still trying to break those stalks off. It didn't work. So Mr. Matthews was right. But what I would encourage all of you to do, and they're giving me the wrap-up sign, and we all got to eat lunch. We could go on like this forever because I don't think there's anything we like better as car people than serving customers and telling stories, right? Talking shop. And what I'd like for you to leave here today with is get excited or get out. Write that down. Tweet that. Facebook that. Hootsuite that. Google Plus that. Take a picture of me saying it. I don't care what. Get excited or get out. There's too many people in the automotive business that bore me to death. You don't have to wear the goofy hat like I wear. I get that's not everybody's gig. I wouldn't encourage you to do that. That works for me. If you're horrible on TV, radio, print, whatever, just do what you do. Be you, but be excited. Have some passion about what you do. And it'll show to your customers. It'll show to your employees. And like Craig said, everybody just love on them a little bit. So, look, we could talk this all day. I'd love to share some more things with you. A couple things I do want to get in real quick. I was real fortunate to have a publisher ask me to write this book. This was essentially the book, the guidebook I was using for my store, for our branding and marketing and advertising. Publisher came to me. They looked at it. They said, if you'll add some stories in here, we could use this. This is actually the guidebook I was using with some stories. Okay, they were kind enough to donate a handful of copies to the conference, okay, to help with the income for the conference. They're back there at the table. This does not go to us. This goes to the conference. Okay, I don't even know what they're charging for them, but they're at the table. This went to #1 Amazon.com, and we're obviously more than thrilled. The Biography Channel did a documentary on our family, our dealership, Carmen, and we were so proud of this movie. Obviously, other than it tells the story of me and my dad, my great-grandfather, my whole family. But we have dealerships that are using this in their training meetings to say, not we want to do that, but we want to create a culture. Not my culture, a culture. Because so many dealerships don't have a culture. They're selling cars. That's not a culture. But it shows that there is some passion and a culture. And I would encourage you, once again, I don't know what they're charging. The Biography Channel sent 100 of these. So buy these up. Hopefully they're not charging too much. And this is actually free. It's on the table right there in front of my banner. It's a report I wrote about profiting from a PR disaster. I don't want anybody to have a public relations nightmare like I did. Was it FCC? FTC. They randomly picked 5 dealers across the country and said, we don't like the way you're advertising, essentially. We used a line in one of our ads that said, we'll pay off your trade. If we trade for your car, we'll pay it off, which everybody in the room has probably used sometime in their career. And they said, we don't like that language. Oh, okay. So what do? Well, we're just going to put it everywhere in the world. We're not going to fine you. It's not a crime. We're just going to publicize it everywhere. Well, thanks for that. Fine me. Can I write you a check for $50 grand? And don't tell anybody. It didn't work that way. Of course, the local TV station that I spend about a lot of money with, they picked the story up the next morning without calling and asking my side of the story. That's another story for another day. Call them. All right. But we handled that with the grace of God and the talents that I was blessed with in a 15-hour time period, made a YouTube video, put that thing out there, and spun that to our good, where we had tidal waves of positive feedback coming from our community when it could have crushed us. Because as successful as we are, we have no Ford, no Nissan, we don't have a OEM. It's all about me. If we fail, I fail, my family fails financially at the end of the day. So I had no choice but to do something and make it work. This is how we did that step by step. So there's a lot of lessons can be learned here if something like that happens to you. And I hope it does not. Trust me. Okay? If it does, call me. We need to talk too real quick. But there's stacks of those back there. Grab one of those. We put that together, and we think you'll find lots of information in there. My website is tracymyers.com. You can go to the dealership website. You're going to drive my BDC crazy because it's all lead gen based, and you're going to submit form leads, and don't do that. If you want anything on my site, go to tracymyers.com, TRACYMYERS, and we'll talk the branding, the marketing, the business side over there. And anything I can do for you, call me, stop me at the conference. We'll talk, we'll email, we'll tweet, we'll chat. Jeremy, I got to meet him finally, but we go back and forth all the time. And probably half of you in the room, we talk online all the time, right?
Yes, sir.
And this is the first time we've met. So I appreciate the time you spent with me and letting me ramble for it's supposed to be 25 minutes. Ends up being 40. But the information that I share is in everyone here, by the way, is from the heart, because I've talked to all these fine people in some capacity or another while getting ready for this conference, and we are so glad you're here. You just don't know how passionate we are about making this conference work for you. All right? All right. Have a great lunch.